I'd like to welcome my fellow councillors. I'd like to welcome our acting CEO, Melissa Crane, and I'd like to welcome everyone here in the gallery tonight and those online. Welcome to the Mansfield Shire meeting, council meeting on the 15th of July, 2025. We have one councillor online tonight, Councillor Tehan, and I'll ask Councillor Tehan, can you hear the proceedings and see all council officers? Councillor Tehan.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I can see all councillors and council officers, and I assume I can hear them all. I'll let you know if I can't.
Okay. Councillors, one by one, can you see and hear all other councillors? Councillor Brenny?
Yes, I can hear the proceedings and see all other councillors and council officers.
Okay. Councillor Clark?
Yes, I can hear the proceedings and I can see all councillors and council officers present.
Councillor Treasure?
I can hear the proceedings and see all councillors and council officers.
And I suppose Councillor Tehan, can you hear us?
Yes, I heard everyone and can see everyone.
Good.
Thank you.
Great stuff. The apologies today, and I have an apology from our Madam CEO, Kirsten Alexander, who is away on annual leave. The statement of commitment, I'll read the statement of commitment and ask each councillor whether they will confirm their commitments. So, as councillors of Mansfield Shire, we are committed to ensuring our behaviour meets the standards set by the Model Councillor Code of Conduct. We will, at all times, faithfully represent and uphold the trust placed in us by the community. Councillor Brenny.
I confirm my commitment to the code.
Thank you. Councillor Clark.
I confirm my commitment, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Treasure.
I confirm my commitment.
Councillor Tehan.
I confirm my commitment.
Thank you, and I confirm my commitment. Councillor Tehan, Deputy Mayor, to do the acknowledgement of country, please.
Our meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Taungurung people. We wish to acknowledge them as the traditional custodians and pay our respects to their elders past and present. We extend that respect to all members of our community.
Thank you. Item 6, disclosure of conflicts of interest. I'll ask each councillor whether they have any conflict of interest in relation to any agenda item tonight. Councillor Tehan?
No conflicts of interest in relation to tonight's agenda.
Thank you. Councillor Treasure?
No conflicts for tonight's agenda.
Thank you. Councillor Clark?
No conflicts for tonight's agenda, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Brenny?
No conflicts of interest on tonight's agenda.
And I confirm I have no conflicts of interest in relation to any agenda items. Item 7 is the confirmation of minutes, councillors. Councillor Clark?
Yeah, I'd like to move that the minutes of the Mansfield Shire Council meeting held on the 24th of June 2025 be confirmed as an accurate record.
Thank you. And Councillor Treasure, have your hand up. Second that. All those in favour, councillors? Motion is carried. Thank you. Representations, we have no representations tonight. Item 9, notices of motion, nil. Item 10, I'll take the Mayor's report, very well written Mayor's report, as taken that as read, councillors. So, Councillor Treasure?
I'd like to move that the council receive the Mayor's report for the period 25 June 2025 to 9th July 2025.
Whoever's got a seconder, Councillor Brenny. All those in favour of the motion? The motion is carried. Item 11, reports from council appointed representatives. So, no committee other than the Station Precinct Museum Community Asset Committee has met. And as chair, I'll give you a report on that. So we met at 2 p.m. on the 27th of June. One of our members, Michael Whitecross, had done a lot of work on the delegation and government framework for the committee. Also the memorandum of understanding and also the operating agreement. And those three documents were provided to the committee. There was a bit of discussion around that. It was agreed that those documents will be handed over to council officers who would then tidy them up and bring them back to the next committee meeting. The financials were also presented by Mr. Whitecross, Mr. McDonald, and Mr. Stoney. There was a little bit of discussion about how the group was going to work with respect to the Historic Society on that, and that'll come to the next committee meeting as well. So nothing really there was finalised. The confirmation of next meeting is the 15th of September at 2 p.m. and we'll finalise the MOUs and the agreements at the meeting. So that's the minutes of that ASIC committee meeting. I have a recommendation, councillors. Councillor Treasure.
That council note the verbal reports provided by councillors in relation to their representation on internal and external committees.
Thank you. Have I got a seconder? Councillor Clark. All those in favour of that motion? Thank you. Motion is carried. Item 12 is public question time, and we do have a question. I'll hand over to Councillor Clark.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Public question from Richard Heath. And I'll read the question. Can you explain why the silent majority of Goffs Bay residents who followed the process put forward by council and voted for the playground to be built at the end of Anchorage Way as set out on the council form, and work had already begun by council, only to have it changed to area which had never been mentioned before, but obviously pacify and help the agenda of those that the vote didn't suit? Thank you. Response. Goffs Bay community members were asked to indicate their preferred location for the playground, with two alternative locations being Lake Valley Drive and Bayside Boulevard considered in the survey. The community engagement survey results were presented at a meeting held on the 10th of May 2025 at the Goffs Bay Boat Club, with a split in results, approximately 60-40, observed between the two locations and many issues raised for discussion. At the community meeting on the 10th of May, it was agreed by majority vote through a show of hands that a review of the Lake Valley Drive site location was needed, and a site walk was scheduled for May 31st to look at options for moving the playground along the road path to a location which had better support from the community. The community meeting and reason for the site walk was widely advertised, and approximately 30 community members attended. The final outcome, for which majority but not total community support was achieved, is a location along Lake Valley Drive, approximately 100 metres to the south of the original proposed site. This new site location on Lake Valley Drive was approved by council as it addressed the community concerns raised during the engagement process, offering natural tree screening, shade, and increased safety for children from the lake and vehicle traffic. This adjustment aimed to balance the interests and concerns of the community while ensuring equitable access to the playground for everyone in Goffs Bay. We acknowledge that changes can sometimes be necessary to address community concerns identified during the engagement process, and the decision was made by council with careful consideration of all the feedback received during the process.
Thanks, Councillor Clark. Item 13, so that's item 13.1 is the Chief Executive Officer's report, which is attached to these minutes. Councillors, have you got any questions for, it'll be the acting CEO, Melissa Crane, that's going to answer them. Get through me. Have any questions? Councillor Brenny.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Acting CEO That's great. Just looking at the drop off in the dwelling permits, it's dropped about 50% from 2022, 23. So, is that a trend similar across the state you see, and any reasons why that might be showing?
Yes, certainly. Through you, Mr. Mayor, there are a number of reasons as to why there's been a drop off in the number of dwellings being issued building permits. It is being felt across the state. A lot of regional councils, rural councils, and some metro councils are experiencing the same thing. The cost of development of a dwelling is going up. The price of money is also hard. People are finding it harder to access finances to commence construction of dwellings, and that is impacting on the number of building permits being issued. It does feed into that affordability issue of being able to build a home, and that is impacting on the figures.
Yeah, thank you for that. No further questions from me.
Any other questions, councillors? Okay. Councillor Clark.
I would like to move that council receive and note the Chief Executive Officer's report for the period 1st of June 2025 to 30th of June 2025.
Thank you. Have I got a seconder for the motion? Councillor Treasurer. Councillor Clark, do you want to speak to the motion?
No, I would not, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Treasurer.
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone want to speak for or against the motion? Put the motion to a vote. All those in favour of the motion? Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 13.2.1, administration of grant income policy. Our responsible officer is Ms. Kate Berg, and I'm assuming that's going to be the acting CEO, Melissa Crane. So, councillors, have you got any questions on this administrative item? Councillor Team.
Yeah, Ms. Crane, I was just wondering, it's one of the changes in this policy has been the requirement to maintain a central grants register, which has been elevated to policy level. What was it prior to it being elevated to policy level? How did it sit?
Certainly, through you, Mr. Mayor, prior to elevating and putting a focus on maintaining a proper grants register the way we have now in that central, it was managed in a decentralised way, I suppose, is the way to describe it. So whichever department was responsible for getting the grant was responsible for maintaining it, and there was a risk of losing oversight of not just the grants we were applying for, but the how we were acquitting those grants and making sure we were delivering within the timeframe. So raising that the importance of the maintenance of that register and how we track it has ensured that we are meeting our obligations in a proper and timely manner, and particularly when it comes to auditing of the financial side of those grants as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions, councillors?
No.
Councillor Clark.
I'd just like to move a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
That council endorses the administration of grant income policy 2025.
Thank you. Councillor Brenny.
Second that.
Thanks. Councillor Clark, you're moving the motion. Do you want to speak to it?
Just to say that I support the moving of this into a policy level, just for better transparency over our operations and better ability for councillors to keep track of what's happening in our grant world, and for officers to be clearer on the processes and things that's happening. So I think it's great.
Thank you. Councillor Brenny, do you want to speak?
Nothing further, thank you.
Councillors, anyone want to speak to or against that motion? Okay, so I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour of the motion? Motion is carried. Agenda item 13.2.2 is the Mansfield Emergency Precinct Grant Applications Update. Yep. Ms. Crane, our acting CEO, will be taking over from Ms. Berg as a responsible officer. Got any questions from Ms. Crane, councillors? I've got one. Ms. Crane, just so it's transparent out there, this is a normal, is this a normal way of council dealing with a change of heart here to bring this to councillor through a motion?
Yep, certainly, Mr. Mayor, particularly with actually within the delegation levels of council officers, because of the amount of money being sought in either of the grants, they do need to come before council for a decision. And it is a standard process that we would bring if there was a change in how we were managing grant. In this case, withdrawing from the original funding application and going through the regional precinct and partnership program, as it is a reasonable practice from an officer perspective. We do believe it's the most transparent way to demonstrate that we're still seeing the priority for the emergency services precinct, but seeking the best funding opportunity with the least impact to the ratepayer as possible, which was why the decision was made to go for one over the other.
Yeah. Good one. Councillors, any other questions? In that case, no questions.
I'll move on.
Councillor Tian, got in before you, Councillor Brenny. You'd be quicker. Councillor Tian.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move the motion on page 14 of the agenda in relation to this item.
Thank you, Councillor Tian. Councillor Treasure is seconding.
Yes.
Yes. Councillor Tian, do you want to speak to the motion if you're moving it?
Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I think it's a good move. I mean, we've been stalled on this for quite some time. Obviously, getting the funding and getting commitment from the state government is like getting blood out of a stone. So it's good that we've changed tact. I think it was necessary to try and get this project moving. And I'd just like to acknowledge the Bendigo Bank and the Mansfield Emergency Precinct Committee and Community Radio for their effort in supporting this financially and from all the work that they've done in the community. So really hope that that this submission gets up.
Yeah. And Councillor Treasure, do you want to?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other councillor want to speak to the motion or against the motion? In that case, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Right. Item 13.2.3, planning permit application P002/23/175 Dead Horse Lane, Mansfield. The senior coordinating responsible officer is Ms. Embling, and Ms. Embling is with us now online. And good evening, Ms. Embling, and welcome to the council meeting.
Thank you.
Councillors, have you got any questions for Ms. Embling on this agenda item? Councillor Team.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Embling, it's a very lengthy permit application and there's lots in it. I found it slightly confusing, just the traffic movements in and out of this proposed subdivision in terms of its access, I guess, onto the Midland Highway and Lakens Road and Dead Horse Lane. Would you be able to just run through a bit that traffic movements and how it's designed not to impact on other traffic that will be moving in and out and around the area.
Certainly, through you, Mr. Mayor. Probably the easiest place for everyone to start is page 22 of the agenda. Has a full page plan showing the subdivision layout where you can see the north and south parts together. So if we start effectively visually, if I walk you through the site from south to north, so stage 1 is in the bottom right corner, which is the corner of Dead Horse Lane and the Midland Highway. Effectively from this side to enter stage 1, vehicles will effectively have two options. If they are travelling north along the Midland Highway, effectively leaving Mansfield heading towards Benalla, there is a one-way entry road direct off the highway. They would turn left. That is one way only, and only if you are travelling north. You would not be able to turn right into that entrance if you are coming towards Mansfield. It does enter and provides drivers with a left or right option. They are both two-way roads. So that does provide a loop around where you've got kind of stage 1, you've got lots, I think, is it roughly lots 8 to 20 in that cluster. Alternatively, drivers coming along Dead Horse Lane can, from either direction, turn in and head north down the blue middle road that winds through the whole property from south to north. The yellow access road off Dead Horse Lane, also able to be turned from left or right. That would get developed as part of stage 2 and would then connect up with the stage 1 road on the south side of the creek, where you'd have a large intersection before vehicles could continue north over a bridge to be constructed as a part of stage 3. Then if they go right onto the green road, which is stage 3, they have two options. They can either continue north and come out Lakens Road, which is two-way entry and exit, can be approached from either the east or the west along Lakens Road. Or alternatively, they can turn right and drive past the lots kind of 49, 42 and 41 towards the Midland Highway. That is an exit-only road, and out of that road, drivers would only be able to turn left and head north towards Benalla. That, of course, is for safety reasons and the way of which it's been designed. Also to satisfy VicRoads' considerations for how much traffic movements they want to direct onto the highway, given the current speed along there. Alternatively, stage 4 does provide an additional north-south access direct onto Lakens Road. And also in stage 4, the purple road, you can see a road heading to the west. That, as a part of the development plan, is required to make a west connection through to further industrial development, which is not yet seeking approval, but will provide future connection one day. Does that clarify? Is there anything else you needed me to go through in that respect?
No, I don't think so. No, that was a very good explanation. Thank you. I can see that it's been pretty well thought through, and it's not all and hopefully that'll eliminate any bottlenecks with traffic. There's plenty of options there. Yep, thanks.
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Bruni.
Ms. Emling, just a clarification for myself there. So that will require no speed reduction or change to the speed along Midland Highway on that eastern boundary?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, at the moment, the way that it's been designed, it doesn't require speed reduction, but that's not to say that council couldn't request that in the future. The developer may request that in the future. VicRoads may even make that determination by themselves once this is all developed. Noting that it is a staged development, so by the time stages 3 and 4 develop to the north, we could be talking 5, 15, 20 years' time, and traffic along Midland Highway could be significantly different and may warrant it at that later time. But for now, not required by the recommended permit conditions from VicRoads.
And just one further, the trees that are marked on this map on figure 5, page 22,
Mhm.
the trees with the small dashes around the outside, are they the ones proposed to be removed?
But through you, Mr. Mayor, the plan does work off a colour coding system. All of the trees that are green are proposed to be retained. They are protected. Those that are orange and still may have a green circle around them, that is a dashed line, also proposed to be retained but require offsetting because they may have been maybe encroached by a boundary or deemed lost because of the lot size. But their officer recommendation does include a section 173 to retain those trees on the land. The trees that are grey with the red circles around them, you can see quite a cluster down in stage 2, the bottom left corner. They are non-native, so exotic trees that effectively do not require a permit to be removed. But I note that there is a permit condition in the officer recommendation that does require any trees not physically required for removal to be retained on the land for as long as possible. So in this instance, any trees that didn't need to be removed for the creation of roads or any boundary fencing that the developer might do would actually be retained, and then it would be up to future landowners to make the decision whether they can build around them or if they need to be removed at that point in time. And I think there is potentially one tree in stage 3 around about lots 49 that is actually yellow colour. That one is deemed lost because of its fence line where the boundary fences are proposed and because of the lots around it. And additionally, there are some trees marked on Lakens Road with red circles that are tentatively marked for removal, but that is pending detailed road design and construction plans for the upgrade of Lakens Road, which the recommended permit conditions actually suggest that we look to find an alternative design to save as many of those trees as possible as well.
Thanks for clarification.
Mhm.
No further questions from me.
All right. I have a couple of questions. Says here the estimated cost of the development exceeds the officer delegations and is up around $10 million. I believe the area of land was rezoned in about September 22. Is that right, Ms. Emily? Yeah. I'm on a
Yes.
roll. And the development plan came to us on the 4th of 23. There's been a lot of work done with cultural heritage surveys on this block of land, years and years, as far as I'm aware, at least 3, I think. Would you have an, and I believe that the planning permit fee to council is set by the state government. Is that correct? The
That
state
is
government set
correct.
the fee. What is the fee set by the state government?
So it is included.
Would it be
included-
$1,360
It
and
is
80 cents? Yeah.
at the bottom of the report on page 40, the
Yeah.
financial impact. Yeah, just
So-
over $1,300. Noting as well, we receive a similar application fee for when the development plan went through prior to the planning application. But yes, that fee is set by the state government, and it is based on a number of how many lots is being proposed. So set fee for anything between 1 and 100 lots is the $1,360. And then the fees increase once they go over 100 lots. But this application is for 79 off the top of my head. So it falls within that fee class.
Yeah, sure. But as I'm saying, as you already said, it's set by the state government. And would you know, generally, just I guess, notice without question without notice, sorry, how much officer time would have been spent on this? It would have been more than $1,360 worth of work in this, wouldn't there? Would you say?
It's a very, very challenging question to answer. Comparatively, when you talk about officer time and hours that have gone into this, it's not just the planner responsible for this application, being myself for most of it. It is a bit of a team effort because of the level of complexity, even just the number of internal referrals that we rely on. So we rely on our environment team, engineering team quite heavily as well. But as a bit of comparison, a $1,300 application fee is fairly standard for a single dwelling. And the level of work to go into an application for an industrial subdivision like this, I would almost say, is at least tenfold.
Yeah, so it's fair for me to assume at the end of that questioning that this is another cost shift for the state government to council then. You don't have to answer that question in your position.
Thank you.
think, but yeah, I'm just saying that, the other councillors just call it out for where we see it. The other question I had was about in page in page 29 of the conditions, which is under landscaping. So it's item 13, landscaping 13D.
Yes.
It says there all trees planted as part of the landscape works must have a minimum height of 2 to 2.5 meters. Why wouldn't you just say 2 meters?
That is a no, completely understand the question. It is a standard landscaping permit condition that we use. Given that the height of trees can vary depending on their species, obviously we prefer to have them as large as possible when they are planted to give them the best chance of survival. But the standard to use a minimum for 2 to 2.5 effectively sets an absolute bare minimum that we hope that they're around closer to the 2.5 mark.
That's it from me. Thanks for answering the questions. Councillors, any other questions? In that case, Councillor Tehan.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move this this motion, and the motion being on pages 26 to 39 of tonight's agenda.
Yep, 26
And
to
starts
31.
with the council resolves to issue a planning permit for planning permit application P00223 for a multi-lot 79 lot staged industrial subdivision.
Thank you. Have I got a seconder to the motion? Councillor Treasure. Councillor Tehan, you moved the motion. Do you want to speak to it?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, this has been a long time coming. I think I can see the developer sitting in the gallery there, and I'd like to commend him for his persistence and his patience in this matter. When we first came to council nearly 5 years ago, it was very obvious that nothing had been done in terms of creating more industrial land in the Shire, and Dead Horse Lane was bursting at the seams, and it was industrial buildings were starting to spread out in areas where they shouldn't have been. So it was good to be able to push through the industrial and commercial land strategy, which highlighted this land amongst some others as the major place where industrial subdivisions could take place. And that the block of land that we're talking about here tonight is going to be a real asset to this town going forward. Great forward thinking of the developer to purchase that land and then strategically to develop it like this. I know it's been a hell of a long battle in terms of getting a cultural heritage assessment. It shouldn't take 2 years, 2 and a bit years to do that. It's just the government talk about progress. Well, here's an area where they could look at and they could fast track without too much effort. Great to see that there's been an 80% retention of all the trees, minimal trees to be taken out on this site, and the proposed staging, I think, will work in a really well and organised manner when we look at the plan and the way it's going to be developed. I also like the restrictions that have been put on the site in terms of signage from the main road, given that this site sits on our approaches into town. So I think a lot of good work's been done in that respect. So I'd like to thank all the planners and the acting CEO who started this process, and finally getting it here is a real is a real what's the word I was thinking of? Well, it's just a great thing anyway. So congratulations to them and to Mr. Luff on getting to this stage, and hopefully it runs smoothly from here.
Thanks, councillor T. And councillor Treasurer, second the motion. Do you want to speak to it?
Just to say that we've probably come in on the tail end of a pretty big, so it's a pleasure to be able to put this through, and we wish everyone involved all the best of luck.
Thank you. Any other councillor want to speak to the motion or against the motion?
Nope.
I'd like to also mirror councillor Tian's comments on this. This is one of the first things that came up to us when we became councillors in the previous term to you guys, and we thought it was a visionary idea. Thought it was what Mansfield really needed. I have to say that I'm disappointed that the cultural heritage, for no fault of Trungorong, taken way out of their hands, just took so long and so much angst and extra cost to the developer that wasn't really needed to be done. But I'm glad that it's the developer has had a lot of patience and dealt with this and got it through to us, and looking forward to the next iteration of this and it going ahead for Mansfield. I think it'll be good. So thanks, councillors. I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour of the motion. The motion is carried. Thank you. That's item 13.2.4 is the planning reform impacts on Mansfield Shire. The responsible officer is Melissa Crane, acting CEO at the moment, but General Manager of Investment and Planning. Councillors, have you got any questions for Ms. Crane on this agenda item?
I have some questions, Mr.
Yep.
Mayor.
Go ahead, councillor Clark.
Ms. Crane, the state government process for these planning and environment amendments started back in 2023. It's my understanding. Has any consultation with local government happened from that time?
Yes, certainly. Through you, Mr. Mayor, there has been very limited engagement with local government. There has been some engagement on a couple of the amendments with specific councils that were more heavily impacted, like with the activity centre type amendments, but there has not been general engagement with local government, with elected members or broader community on those amendments.
Thank you.
Councillor Bruni.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question on, will this assist with making planning less of an urbanised approach, do you think, from the state government, or is there space in here to be putting a bit in there so we can keep Mansfield interesting and not have some of these urban requirements put on to us?
Yes, certainly through you, Mr. Mayor. The way the the amendments and the planning reform has been progressing over the last 2 years, particularly with the amendments that are being put into place, what is happening is reducing our ability to keep our local controls, keep our local decision making, and maintain the values that are specific to Mansfield, and it is having the same impact on other rural municipalities in particular. So it is applying a fairly metropolitan, one-size-fits-all approach to planning across the whole of Victoria, more than there has ever been.
Just relating back to an earlier question about the dropping of dwelling permits here, do you think that there's anything in here that's going to assist in home or first-time developers or people who are wanting to get a permit in? Or is...
Yeah, that's a really good question. Through you, Mr. Mayor, there's possibly some of the codification will mean that developers may decide they will want to do some development of some of the things where it's a tick the box exercise. So those type of developments will be easier to happen, which is usually your low rise and medium density housing developments. So up to the 3-story type developments will be simpler to be put into place. The risk of those is probably lower in metropolitan Melbourne than it is in rural Victoria in terms of the impact on the broader community. But certainly the codification will make it easier for a developer to a degree. It doesn't change the costs of those developments. It just may mean that they get a permit a little bit quicker than they might have if it gone through a public notice period.
We could end up with more houses, but less of the kind that the community would like to see, in a nutshell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
So Ms. Crane, sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Crane, so is 3 stories the limit in rural in Mansfield? So just putting it into practical terms, someone could build a 3-story.
So yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, at the moment in the general residential zone, there is the ability to build to 3 stories, but we do have other decision guidelines, which we call Clause 65, which is general decision guidelines, which are referred to in the report that allow us to consider broader issues like the orderly planning of the area, the effect on amenity area, and the effect on character of the area. The use of particular provisions for some of this codification is disabling the ability for planners to use Clause 65 as a decision guideline when assessing applications. So it will take away the ability for us to have broader considerations other than a specific set of parameters on some of those more codified developments that may turn up within Mansfield.
And is that, sorry, just a follow-up question, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
And is that also applied to objections from people who, is that sort of caught up in that same?
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Mayor, some of the amendments so far already in place, some which do impact us, some which don't, are already looking at removing the ability of council to give notice of applications. And then beyond that, they're also removing the notice of people who may have been given notice or placed an objection to an application to actually take that to a VCAT for review. So and that is the broader considerations being made as part of the review of the Planning and Environment Act as well, about looking fairly careful. The state government is looking very carefully at what level of notice and review they want to include or continue to use within the planning schemes.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thanks, Councillor Treasure.
Can I just ask one more question, Mr. Mayor? Sorry.
Councillor Clark, go ahead.
In your expert opinion, what do you foresee the consequences being to Mansfield Shire if this planning reform goes through as it is?
Certainly. So through you, Mr. Mayor, in the short term, there won't be any obvious change straight away. Planning permits from when you get an application for a development to when it actually starts being built is usually 2 or 3 years at the least, because people have to go through the permit process, get a building permit, get a builder, get the funding, and then commence building. So you don't normally see the results of the changes for a couple of years. when the changes do go through, so planning applications we might assess now that we could not give notice to and then get started, somebody would start to build in a couple of years, will result in community seeing built form evolving in its community that they didn't know about and had no oversight of or ability to influence the outcome of. But they won't see that for a couple of years. So at that point, it's likely that they won't know that council at the time didn't have the opportunity to seek their input.
Hmm,
Thank you, Ms. Crane.
yeah. Councillors, any other questions from Ms. Crane?
Any further questions?
No?
I'd like,
Oh, Councillor Clark, go ahead.
yeah, I'd like to move a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
I'd like to move elements of the recommendation listed in the agenda on page 46. But I do have some amendments. So I'd like to move that council note item 1, 2, and 3 in the recommendation as listed
yes,
on page 46 of the agenda.
yeah,
I'd like to add an additional another point 4. Can I add that? I'm just going to add that on the end.
do you want to read it out?
Yes, I'm going to make, changes to point 4. Calls on the Victorian government to ensure that the review of the Planning Environment Act 1987 has due regard for rural Victoria and maintains the ability of local government to do the following. A, keep it country, ensure that any changes allow council to continue to manage and protect local vision, values and character, including the protection of large trees. B, keep it local, ensure that any changes allow council to continue to make decisions for the community at a local level and that council is not removed as the determining authority. C, keep it transparent, ensure that any changes allow council to continue to provide the community with information and the ability to advertise planning proposals and to consider and respond to community input. D, keep it fair, ensure that any changes allow our community to participate in the planning process and the right to have decisions reviewed at the Victorian Civil and Administrative Tribunal. E, keep it simple. Ensure that any changes to the Act minimise complexity so that anyone can engage in the planning system without undue cost. And then I'll keep items 5, 6, 7, and 8 as written, but then add an item 9 that says notes that the current Victorian planning system works well and is a fair, balanced system that empowers community members to participate in regional and local planning. The end.
Okay, I had your proposed changes here. And so just to be absolutely specific, you're adding 4 after 3.
As item 9 instead, just to avoid confusion.
Okay, so that what about the notes that current Victorian planning system works well and is fair balanced system that empowers community members to participate in regional and local planning?
Yep, so I would
Yep.
like to add that as item 9 on the
Are you putting that down the bottom?
down the
Line, okay. Yeah. Got that, okay. Are all councillors clear as to Councillor Clark's amendments to that motion? Yeah, all right, I'll put
that's the motion I've moved.
you're moving that motion, Councillor Clark, Councillor Brenny, and you're
second
seconding
the
the motion, okay. Okay, Councillor Clark, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, please, Mr. Mayor. I just want to reiterate to the community that these changes will affect our Shire. The reform program has already resulted in significant changes to the planning system, and it will result in more changes that are likely to have really significant impact on our ability to manage and protect the things that are valued by Mansfield community. I encourage everyone to read up on these changes. There's a really great summary in our Mansfield Shire agenda, which you can access online if you would like to read some background on it. Starts on page 41 of the agenda. And stay aware.
Thank you. Councillor Brenny, do you want to speak?
Yeah, I'd like to speak on it. Further on Councillor Clark's comments, that it's good to see that there's a joint effort to sort of push back on this. I think the general awareness of public about how planning works and who has authority over it is minimal. So it's good that we can get this information out there to the residents and ratepayers so that they're better informed. As someone who would love to build or buy a house in Mansfield, it does seem that a lot of this is pushing more towards making it more difficult for people to push back against elements of planning rather than making it more affordable for people to be a part of the housing market. So I think it's a really good effort by the officers, and we see where it goes.
Yeah. Any other councillor want to speak to that motion or against that motion? I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour of the amended motion? That motion is carried. Item 13.3.1 is the Township Reserves Maintenance Non-Council Land Policy. Our responsible officer is Mr. Nick Maple, is acting CEO. Do you know whether Mr. Maple's coming in, or are you taking that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I do believe he was coming in, but I'm happy to take questions if he's not in the room yet, if he's having some troubles with that.
Yeah, he might have trouble coming in. Okay, councillors. It's a policy. Have you got any questions? No. Councillor Brenny.
I'll move motion that council endorses the Township Reserves Maintenance Non-Council Land Policy 2025.
Thanks, councillor. Treasure. Seconding that. Do you want to speak to the motion, councillor Brenny?
No, thank you.
Councillor Treasure? No, thank you. Anyone want to speak to or against that motion? Put the motion to a vote. Those in favour of the motion? Motion is carried. 13.4.1 is the Local Government Community Satisfaction Survey 2025. The recommending officer is Ms. Tanya Tavo, who is in the council chambers and ready to take questions. Any questions, councillors? No questions. Not surprising how well we did. You have a question?
Yeah, just a technical one from my own understanding. Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Is this survey conducted every year, or how often is it put out there to the public?
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Mhm.
Yes, we conduct this survey the survey is conducted every year by JWS, who conducts most surveys annually for most local governments.
And it says that we're performing significantly higher, which is a good reflection, I suppose, of the community satisfaction in how the council's functioning. Is that a true reflection, do you think?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, the JWS are a trusted statistic provider, and they do a broad range of work in this realm for local governments. And it does give year-on-year data, and it gives data comparing to other small rural councils as well as the statewide average. So yes, I do think it's reliable.
It's very good to see that the residents and ratepayers reflect of the good work of the council, and will continue to keep those stats where they are, if not better. No further questions from me.
Councillor Treasure?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I just noticed that the sample sizes are quite skewed towards the older demographic and less so to the younger demographic. Is that because it's a phone poll or picking up the phone?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, the accepted understanding across the communications in local government is that because JWS call from a landline number, it's much easier to get other demographics than 18 to 34-year-olds to pick up from that number. So it is a common issue across local governments that that sector is underrepresented demographically. However, I know that JWS have said, because it's come through local government advocacy, that they changed their system. I know that they're working on a solution to that.
Thank you.
Call out to anyone who's in that bracket if they want to have feedback, that they can come to us as well.
Nothing. Answer your phone, young people.
Okay, it's question time, not, fair enough, I'll let it slip.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, any other questions, councillors?
No. I'd like to move a motion that council receives and notes the 2025 local government community satisfaction survey report.
Thank you. Have I got a seconder? Councillor Treasure. Councillor Brenny, you move the motion. Would you like to speak to it?
Only this is where I should insert the comment that anyone who's in that age bracket, come and speak with us. But that is all. Thank you.
Well done. Councillor Treasure.
And I should insert there that I should say, pick up your phone, young people. Instead of saying it earlier. I apologise, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else want to speak to the motion?
Just a brief comment, Mr. Mayor. Just to see that this is always something that we're working on improving. We're always looking at new ways that we can engage effectively with community members of all age groups. So yeah, we do encourage people to not only answer the phone, but get involved in the other ways and let us know the areas that we can improve. Because we want to continue to meet the satisfactory needs of our community as much as possible.
Yeah. All right, I'll put that to the vote, councillors. Those in favour? Motion is carried. Item 13.4.2 is the work cover renewal, and the responsible officer is People and Culture Officer is Insaf Ismail. Is Insaf Ismail? Is Ismail coming in, or Melissa, will you take that one? Okay. Councillors, you got any questions about the work cover renewal? No, all right. Councillor Clark.
I'd like to move the council authorises the Chief Executive Officer to approve payment relating to Mansfield Shire Council's 2025-26 work cover renewal for a total amount of $299,932.65, excluding GST.
Thank you. Yep. Councillor Treasure.
I'll second that.
Seconding.
Please, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Clark, you propose a motion. Do you want to speak to it?
No, thank you, Mr.
Councillor Treasure, you want to speak to it?
Just to say well done on the slight reduction. That's good to go.
Good
Down rather
saving.
than up.
Yeah. Any other councillor want to speak to the motion? Councillor Tehan? You have to turn
You're
your
muted.
mute off. That's it.
Sorry. Yep.
That's
There
all.
he is.
Back to the old days. Yeah, a good job by the staff to be able to get the number of claims down, and we've seen a big increase in work cover over the last couple of years, but we seem to have hopefully got to the top of it, and we have seen a reasonably big increase in claims too. So hopefully that will continue forward. I know we brought in some outside help to help us deal with some of those claims and get them off the books. So that's been a success, and let's hopefully as we move forward, we can continue to push down those claim costs, because they are a significant part of the budget. Thank you.
Good one. Yeah, thank you. Anyone else want to speak to or against the motion? Against saving money? No? All right, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Item 13.5.1 is the financial strategy policy. The responsible officer is our financial controller, Mr. Michael McCormack, and welcome, Mr. McCormack, again to another meeting. Councillors, have you got any questions for Mr. McCormack?
For you,
Yeah,
Mr. Mayor,
yeah.
just one clarification for you, Mr. McCormick. Is the last point on the agenda here is about in the review of the 10-year long-term financial plan, and that this could just be absorbed into that. When might that happen?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So the 10-year financial plan is due for the 30th of October, and that's legislative. So we're going to be producing it by our October meeting.
Yep. Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Any other questions, councillors? We do have a recommendation on page 59, councillor
That,
Treasure.
yes, that council endorses the financial strategy policy 2025.
Thank you, and councillor Clark. Councillor Treasure, do you want to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Clark,
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
any other councillor want to speak to or against that motion? Put the motion to a vote. Those in favour? That motion is carried. Don't go away, Mr. McCormick. We have item 13.5.2, the revenue and debt recovery policy. To seek council endorsement of the revenue and debt recovery policy. That's what we seek. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Tehan.
Yeah, Mr. McCormick, can you just run us through some of the key changes to this policy in terms of our debt recovery?
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
This is actually a new policy that we've introduced. So they're essentially all new changes within this policy, but we've introduced it essentially so our team has a structure to follow within our debt recovery. And so there's clear guidance on our key steps that we need to take within our debt recovery process.
Okay, so there's nothing significant, no significant changes then from the way we have been to the way we are going to in this policy?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, there's no significant changes through how we actually have been collecting our debt. It's just to have it more formalised is the main concept of this.
Right, thank you.
Any other councillors got a question? Councillor Treasure.
Mr. McCormick, just wondering if formalising this policy and having guidelines might help in terms of not having to use external debt collectors quite so much, or is it really just a formalisation of what's been happening already?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the policy sort of helps us lead into our procedure. So we're feeling that within some amendments we're making to our procedure, which is making phone calls at an earlier point to our overdue rates, that should mitigate some of our debt collection fees based on that step and having that flow quite organised. And when we do that call.
Mm-hmm.
Councillor Clark.
I'd like to move motion.
Yes.
The council endorses the revenue and debt recovery policy 2025.
Thank you. Got a seconder, Councillor Bruni. Councillor Clark moved the motion. Would you like to speak to it?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Bruni is a seconder. Do you want to speak to it?
No, thank you.
Any other councillor want to speak to, for or against that motion?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'll put the motion to a vote then. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Item 13.5.3 is the municipal charge. Responsible Officer, Financial Controller, Mr. McCormick. The purpose to seek council adoption of a reduced municipal charge for each rateable land or part in respect of which a municipal charge may be levied for the 25-26 financial year. So have we got any questions, councillors? Councillor Brenny?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Clarification, Mr. McCormick. Just from reading this, so if each ratepayer was charged an extra $6, then the total additional money to the budget would be 42,857. A significant amount. Yep.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, that is correct.
Yep. And that's just to maintain it at the 2.75. If there was 6, would it be at 3%? Sorry, if the additional $6 was charged on, is it sitting at 3% then?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it was working out to be sitting at 3.1%.
Yeah. No further questions.
Any other questions? Got a recommendation.
Yep. I'll move that
Councillor Brenny?
Council, pursuant to the provisions of Section 159 of the Local Government Act 1989, declare the municipal charge in the sum of $353 for each rateable land or part in respect of which a municipal charge may be levied is declared in respect of the 2025-26 financial year. Point 2, confirm that the municipal charge is declared in respect of all rateable land within the municipal district and of which a municipal charge may be levied. And 3, authorises the Chief Executive Officer to update the municipal charge amount within the 2025-26 budget document.
You were going to second that? Yeah, you had your hand up, so thank you. Councillor Brenny and Councillor Treasurer's second the motion. Do you want to speak to the motion, Councillor Brenny?
Yeah, just it's good to highlight that I suppose the small amount from each person, even in these tight times, makes a big collective pool for everyone to use in the budget in future. So that's all.
Thank you. Councillor Treasurer. Any other councillor want to speak to or against the motion? Councillor Tia?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Even though it's a saving for the ratepayer, we now have to find that money somewhere else in the budget. So it's not ideal to be to changing these things at the last minute. I know it was an oversight of how it's come about. Anyway, we move forward, and hopefully, it won't happen again.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak to against the motion? Put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Thanks, Mr. McCormick. Item 13.5.4 is the native title claim. The acting CEO will be the responsible officer, and it's right up your planning division. So I'm glad you're still here, Ms. Crane. Councillors, have you got any questions for Ms. Crane about this? All right. Well, there's a recommendation.
I'll just ask a question first.
So I was looking for a hand up for a question, but I didn't see you. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Well, it just came to me. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Thought it might have been me because we've got a delay on the screen.
That's all right. So, Miss Crane, can you just give a brief summary of what implications this may have, say, if it was to be successful, in terms of who would we be dealing with in parts of our shire, or potentially what the ramifications of this could be down the track?
Yes, certainly. Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is a very complicated question. I probably am not going to be able to answer that specifically because currently the native title claim is through federal legislation. So this is something that's been dealt with at a federal level. The current interactions we have with the Tongarong as a registered Aboriginal party is as an appointed body from the state government. So the implications of a native title claim is probably not, in terms of how that would work and who we would deal with, is probably not something I could answer at this point. I'm happy to take that on notice and do some further research, but I do know that native title claims take a long time and have a lot of different moving parts to them. And without the information that we would get as part of being party to this claim, it is hard to give an answer because we don't have access to that information that they have provided. So we can take that on notice, and it may be that once we've become party and have access to the documents, we'll be able to give a clearer answer to that question.
In your experience, can you have 3 or 2 different plans?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. The native title claim is different from having a registered Aboriginal party in terms of how we deal with things from a cultural heritage management plan perspective and how we deal with things under the Aboriginal Heritage Act. It's also, so they're different pieces of legislation, and the responsibilities as to who the traditional owners are responsible or who we deal with in those pieces of legislation is different. I probably can't answer whether or if, so say this native title claim was successful, I'm imagining there would have to be a reasonable piece of work undertaken to see what the implications are in relation to how we deal with the Tongarong on a state level. In my experience, I have dealt with 2 registered Aboriginal parties in one municipality, but not where we've had a native title claim that overlaps with an existing registered Aboriginal party's area that they're responsible for. I haven't had that experience because they are, like I said, 2 different pieces of legislation.
Right. What does it mean if we're to become party to a native title determination application, and the recommendation notes that we can withdraw at any time? So what would be why would we want to become party to a native title determination application?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, becoming a party doesn't put an obligation on us to do anything other than we don't have an obligation to form a position or take action in this matter. It just means we become able to be informed of what's happening in the matter. So we were only informed or became aware of the matter from the notice that was placed in a paper. It wasn't something that we were notified about. So we can't. So that's why we have very limited information, because we're not party to what the claim is for and what the grounds of that claim are. So it is the becoming a party will give us access to that information and able to make a better judgment about whether or not there is implications that council would need to take further or have extra consideration of.
Okay, so there's no obligations, no implications. It's just basically for Informate to keep us up to date with what's going on.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct. And then once we have that information, council officers will be in a better position to make recommendations to council as to any further action that may or may not be required.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor T.
Okay, I'll move that council approves the Chief Executive Officer to give notice of intention for Mansfield Shire Council to become a party to a native title determination application, and notes that council can choose to withdraw at any time during the process.
Thanks, Councillor T. Councillor Bruni. Second the motion. Councillor Teen, you've moved the motion. Do you want to speak to it?
Is it?
Councillor Teen?
No, thanks.
Okay. Councillor Brenny, do you want to speak to the motion?
Just a quick word that if this was to be determined, just for anyone who might see this, thinks that people can't come and take your land, can't come and take your house, part of a broader Commonwealth piece of legislation. But we're sure we'll get out more information to the public as we go if we are party to this determination.
Thank you. Anyone, any other councillor want to speak to the motion or against it? I'll put the motion to vote. Those in favour of that motion? Motion's carried. So item 14 is the council meeting resolution action status register taken as read. Councillor Clark.
Yeah, I'd like to move the council receive and note the Mansfield Shire Council meeting resolution actions status register as at the 4th of July 2025.
Thank you. Have we got a seconder? Councillor Treasure. Anyone want to speak to or against the motion?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Motion to a vote. Okay, all those in favour? Motion's passed. Item 15, advisory and special committee reports are nil. Item 16, authorisation of sealing of documents, there is nil. Item 17 is a closure of meeting to members of the public so that we can consider confidential information. Have I got a
Yeah, I'll move that council close the meeting to members of the public under section 662A of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider confidential reports in accordance with section 662 of the Local Government Act 2020 for reasons set out in section 18 below.
Thank you. Have we got a seconder? Councillor Clark. All those in favour of the motion? Motion's carried. I'll have to kick you out, but you can come back in later.
No, that's all right. I just want to do something.
Yeah.
Yes.
I need a copy
We'll go into the
of the written
Room?
decision you read out.
Yes.
I can send that to you on email if you want tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can definitely email you.
No worries. You've got all my info?
Yeah, I do. I spoke to, I'm Chelsea, I spoke to you. on-
That's the start. I spoke to you.
Great. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Thanks for coming in.
See ya.
See ya.
Thanks for
Bye-bye.
Okay, we'll go into the room and we'll be back shortly. Thanks everyone for staying on, if you did. And that's, we broke to have a confidential meeting, which did get resolved. And thanks for watching and being part of our community and engaging with us during this meeting tonight. And I wish you all a very safe journey home. And that's the end of the meeting. Thanks very much. Good night, councillors.
Good night.
Good night.
Mhm.